Today, I'm going to try and fix some of the slimes I've been avoiding fixing for so long. Let's get started. The first slime we have here is a butter slime that has been left out on the side for over a year and a half. This originally started off as an experiment and I wanted to see what would happen, but then I kind of forgot about it and just left it. I have been avoiding fixing this for the longest time because, to be honest, I didn't know if I would actually be able to, because you can see here, it's literally a rock. The first thing that kind of sprung to mind when I thought about fixing this was to try and add the water back into it. All of the water's just been lost and evaporated because it's been sat on the side for so long. So I needed to find a way to try and incorporate this water back into it and rehydrate this slime. I added warm water, but as you can see, it literally did nothing. So I decided to put it in the microwave, which you should definitely not try, by the way. Now, I let this cool for like half an hour just because I really didn't want to burn my hands. And then I just went in and kind of like mashed it. What was really weird is that when I put it in the microwave, it kind of inflated like a marshmallow and then deflated, but absorbed all the water at the same time, and it kind of turned into this like mushable paste. I honestly just kept mixing it and squishing it together with my hands for ages and ages and ages. Some of the chunks would just not go away, but I just kind of kept going because it was kind of changing the texture. I ended up microwaving it again for like another 30 seconds. Again, do not try this. I am just done. Anyway, I ended up pouring out some of the water that was in it just because it was too liquidy and I didn't want it to be jiggly and wet, but I was kind of giving up hope at this point because it was not mixing together. My last resort for this was to just add some glue, mix it in, and just see what happens. And already I could see an improvement. The glue kind of thickened it up, and when I added the activator, everything kind of just binded together and started to work. Now I say work, but to be honest, it didn't really, and it was still very, very chunky, but it was better than nothing, and I was just glad that it started to come together. What was strange about this slime is that the more I played with it and the more I mixed in the clay, it kind of got lighter in color, but I'm thinking it might have just been the clay dissolving into the slime, or maybe even me adding more air into it. I picked out some of the main chunks in it and kind of just left the others because I felt like they were kind of going away naturally, and decided that if I wanted to thicken this up and make it more like the original texture, I would actually have to add some more clay into it. This actually worked really well, and for some reason when I added the clay into it, it kind of absorbed into the other clay and made it dissolve more. You can kind of still see though that it's still quite chunky, but they're definitely going down and it's definitely getting smoother. However, adding the clay kind of made the color just a little bit too pink, so I decided to add some bright red food dye to brighten up a little bit. I didn't actually mean to add this much. I literally spilt like half the bottle of dye into this, but I think it looked really cool, and to be honest, just made the slime look kind of brand new because it was so bright. I did add so much that the slime completely melted and I had to reactivate it, yeah, but the red color was definitely worth it. It was cool. It was not worth it. I mixed this all together, and although it was kind of frustrating to mix this slime even more, it definitely got rid of a lot of the lumps that were in there, so it kind of did it a favor. The texture of this was honestly really great. It was light and fluffy and wasn't too thick. It was definitely like a very airy butter slime. I ended up putting it into a fresh container just to make it look a little nicer, and topped it with a very similar sprinkle mix as it had before and the same charms that I saved from the original slime. Overall, I feel like this worked really well. It didn't look exactly the same as the slime before, but it's definitely fun to give things a new life, and I really can't believe that that dried up slime that was literally as hard as a rock is now soft and squishy and feels like a marshmallow. Definitely worth the fix, but also just make sure you don't leave your slime out to dry for that long. Okay, this next slime, I do not even know where it came from. I just found it on a shelf. I think, to be honest, it might have just been where I put some leftover slime and let it dry out and stick together, but I really do not know what this is made of, and it's just a mixture of random textures. Instantly, I could tell it was quite rubbery, and I knew it was going to be difficult, so I wanted to take it right back to the start and completely deactivate it. To do this, I added some glue, and looking back in hindsight, it probably wasn't enough glue, and that's why it really didn't do much. And when I say it didn't do much, it really did not do much at all. It kind of just made it a little bit sticky, so I added some water in hopes that this might do something. I mixed it thoroughly into the slime, and it didn't really go into it very easily, which wasn't a surprise considering the slime literally felt like rubber, so I knew I needed to use something stronger to try and melt this down. A few of you might remember that in my previous videos I've used dish soap to try and melt a slime down, and it always works, but I didn't actually have any dish soap, so I just used regular soap. I knew this was going to work the same because the main ingredient is glycerin, and that really melts down slime to its basic format, which is glue. This kind of worked and was really the only thing that the slime reacted to, but it still wasn't runny enough, so I ended up adding some more water and slowly mixing it in so I didn't create too many bubbles. Once that had mixed in, I finally felt like it felt like glue again, but I actually let it sit for a little while just so everything could kind of melt a little bit more. I always recommend to let slime sit for a little while if it's not going to plan, because often it kind of just sorts itself out if you just leave it. Straight away I went in with some activator and I just mixed this in again. There was a lot of mixing involved with this slime, and I was even questioning at this point if I really did need to melt it down, but I had melted it, so I needed to fix it. Sure enough, the slime did come together, but it had just a weird rubbery texture that it kind of originally did, so I'm thinking it might have just been the glue that was maybe weird or just had like an odd reaction to the different ingredients. But you could see here that there were loads of beads in it that would just fall out when you played with it, so I spent a good half an hour just removing all of these as best I could just so they wouldn't fly everywhere. The resulting texture of all of this work still was not great, and I was really disappointed, and I didn't think this slime would actually make the video because I thought it would fail. However, I persevered and I decided to add some clay because I feel like this might help smooth the texture out, and it definitely did. It made it lighter and fluffier, and although it wasn't perfect, it was still better than it was before. The color of this originally wasn't bad at all, and it was kind of like a mint green, but I always like to dye my slimes really bright colors just because I feel like they always stand out more. Now, to make this slime more interesting, I actually just put this in a container and then decided to focus on what I'd put on top of it. I decided to use some brown clay and just press it into a donut mold so I could make a clay donut topper. I had some leftover pink slime luckily from a previous video, and I decided to decorate the donut with that and some blue sprinkles to go with the slime. This actually looked really realistic. Sometimes these clay toppers, you can tell they look like slime, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to tell. Let me know what you think in the comments and if you think this looks real or not. I popped this on top of the slime and mix them together, and I was obsessed with this. I think this looks so good, and I honestly kind of wanted to eat it, which I obviously know you can't eat slime, but I was really impressed with how this turned out. I actually strategically used the clay topper because I felt like the texture actually needed a little bit more clay, so I definitely think this actually helped fix the slime even more. The next slime is actually called a cleaning slime. I don't know if you guys know about these, but it's basically just a random slime that you use to pick up all the different sprinkles and little bits of slime that aren't always easy to clear up, and this makes it so much easier because it just sucks everything up. I've been using this one just to clean up all of the sprinkles after videos or experiments I do, and it is just rammed with sprinkles. So filled with sprinkles that it actually does not stretch. It's like a brick of sprinkles all glued together. Now for this one again, we're going to be trying to deconstruct this. I actually added a lot more glue this time because last time I kept adding more and I didn't want to have to do it, so I just added it all at once. I used my hands to mix this because I know that using a spatula would just bend and make this harder than it already would be, but of course there was not enough glue, so I had to add even more. At what point am I just adding glue and then activating it? I feel like is this even fixing it at this point? Regardless, I just covered it with some cling film and let it sit for about an hour to 2 hours just so all of the sprinkles would fall to the bottom. I wanted them all to separate so that I could actually scoop the glue from the top of them and leave all of the dirt and the sprinkles right at the very bottom of the slime. I managed to pour as much of the glue as I could into this bowl, and I used my spatula to try and get some of it from the edges as well. I feel like a few sprinkles did escape into this, but to be honest, I feel like the majority of them actually stuck together, and it was very easy not to get them into the glue. Now, of course, it would not be a slime Glitterz video without at least dyeing one of the slimes pink, but I guess I'm not going fully pink this time as I added some purple too. I activated this like normal, and this came together perfectly fine. It was really probably the easiest fix out of all of the slimes that we've done today, and I could already tell that the texture would feel good. I let it sit for a few days, and this was the result. A beautiful purpley pink clear slime. What really impressed me was the amount of glitter in this. I guess I couldn't really see it because the glue was filled with bubbles, and also the sprinkles kind of just covered up everything. But overall, even though this was kind of an easy and simple fix, I still really like the result of this. And I think the color is just so cool. It kind of shifts from purple to pink, and I wasn't expecting that. Well, although I have avoided fixing these slimes for the longest time ever, I'm so glad that they're finally fixed. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please let me know which one was your favorite in the comments below. If you like these videos, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure to hit subscribe. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.